Hey, what's up you guys, it's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to go into chapter 10 of Lost by James Patterson, so let's get right into this video. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, I suggest you click off the video now. You have been warned. Hannah and her brother Albert spent much of the rest of the afternoon visiting various contacts around Amsterdam. They had hoped someone could tell them something about what had happened in Miami. There was no way Hannah was going to lose that much money without getting some kind of explanation, but so far they hadn't got much information. The longer this went on, the more frustrated Hannah became, and if Hannah wasn't frustrated, Albert was on the verge of fury. They crossed into the Nord district by way of the Cohen Tunnel and walked until they were a couple of blocks from the city office of the Buchenstromplin. Their contact would meet them near the bronze statue of children playing. At the edge of the park, Albert nudged his sister and pointed to a young woman and a man huddled in conversation. Hannah said, "What about them?" The woman looked up and Hannah saw her clearly. It was the girl who had Emil Rostov's initials carved in her face, an E on her right cheek and an R on her left. Each scar covered almost the entire cheek. The missing end of her nose was also jarring, but in a different way. It took a moment to recognize the blunted tip of the otherwise normal nose. The man next to her was missing the fingers on his right hand. The image of the two sent a shudder through Hannah, just as it was intended to. That was one of the reasons Emil Rostov could live in a waterfront penthouse without anyone ever touching him. Everyone was terrified of him. Hannah and Albert had spent most of their lives in Amsterdam. They hadn't heard of this kind of violence until the Russians arrived in East Mass and took control of much of the city's criminal enterprises. Hannah looked away from the Rostov victims and spotted Henrik, her contact from the city office, a corpulent little bald man who'd been bleeding her dry for years by claiming to have connections in law enforcement worldwide. She saw a smile spread across the man's face as he watched her approach the bench he sat on. She'd never really liked the way Henrik looked at her. Hannah knew his preference was for young girls because she'd provided him with some over the years, but the grubby 45-year-old civil servant didn't impress her as being particularly discriminating when it came to women. Hannah did like the way Henrik's smile faded instantly when he noticed Albert walking a few feet behind her. Her big brother had looked out for her ever since they were kids. A light breeze blew the man's thinning hair into odd angles. Even though temperatures were mild now in the late summer, he had sweat stains blossoming under his arms. She wasted no time on small talk. "I'm quite bothered about losing an entire load in Miami." Henrik hesitated, then said, "Is that why your brother is with you?" Hannah said, "Don't worry about Albert. I just need a few answers. I would prefer to speak with you alone." Albert stepped closer. He towered above the seated man. "What's wrong, Henrik? You got something to hide." He didn't wait for an answer. Albert plopped down on the bench right next to him. He pulled out a long survival knife from under his light jacket. Then he made a show out of using it to clean his fingernails. Hannah stayed on her feet. She looked down at Henrik with her hands on her hips and like a school alarm. "No games. Do you know anything about it or not? The American FBI got the tip from the Dutch National Police about your man with the kids," Henrik told her. "You know who gave the tip?" He shook his head, but Hannah couldn't tell if it was a nervous gesture or if he was saying no. Albert slammed the point of the knife into the bench's wooden seat, less than an inch from Henrik's leg. That made him jump. Albert said, "Come on, Henrik. It's not like someone from the Dutch police will cut off a body part if you tell us who called the tip in to the Americans." Henrik said, "I think you both know who it was." Albert said, "Tell us. I thought we were business associates. I don't appreciate being threatened," Henrik said. Albert jerked the knife out of the bench and swung it like a tennis racket toward the civil servant's face. He froze. Just at the edge of the blade to touch Henrik's throat. Both men sat perfectly still like statues. A thin trickle of blood dripped from the tiny cut Albert's knife had made. Even Hannah flinched at the suddenness of the action and the slide of blood, but she held steady at Henrik's whimper. Albert acted as if nothing had happened and smiled as he said, "A name." He lowered the knife. Henrik hyperventilated. As he lifted his left hand to feel his neck, he mumbled, "Detective Marie Meyer." Albert said, "That wasn't so hard, now was it?" That is the end of this chapter. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.